But she only knows about the pornography. It's all she knows about. And I'm not about to tell her about anything else.
I can handle anything, but I can't handle the lies. I can't handle the lies.
You know, it was just, it become dangerous to a part where I had to be a point scared for my life, that I was gonna come home to my family.
I'm Alana Gordon, and I am from Las Vegas, Nevada. Luke and I have been married for 16 years. We have 5 kids. When I was first with Luke, everything was a whirlwind of excitement and fun. He was the only person I wanted to be with, fairy tale story. So everything was just perfect. We had each other, and the rest of the world didn't matter.
So my name's Luke. I am from Las Vegas, Nevada, born and raised in central Utah. Very normal Mormon upbringing. So I was raised in the church. I met my future wife, and absolutely just was head over heels for this woman the first time that I saw her, and just was excited to be around her. It just felt easy, and I enjoyed it, and I liked it. We got to a part where we decided we were going to get married, and during this first few months of marriage, it was good. It was awesome.
2 years into our marriage, Luke was getting text messages back and forth from coworkers at weird hours of the day, but I kind of just blew it off.
I didn't have good boundaries with myself. I didn't have good boundaries with the interactions I had with other people. I was very flirtatious, to the extent of me finally cheating on my wife.
I intercepted this text that he was basically asking her to go up to the mountain and go skiing and take her out to dinner. And at the time, we could barely afford milk. And I was so mad at him and told him to get out. And
so I stopped the relationship and then tried to forget everything that had happened.
I remember talking to my mom, and she said, "Alana, if you're gonna get out of a marriage, do it now. Do it before you have kids." And I was like, no. He just got off track. This is not who he is. We have a good marriage. Like, stop being over dramatic. And Luke came home just sobbing and like, "I'm so sorry, I would never do it. Now that it's out there, I just don't know what happened." And it's what I wanted to hear. And so I just soaked it all up, and we went on with life.
I was on this roller coaster headed downhill that I would not even realize that was going on. Then what happened was I started to explore other things that were sexual, and finally getting, quote unquote, horrible way to put it, brave enough to explore it.
About 8 years ago, I came home early, and I opened the door, and he's staring at me, and he looks at me and he's like, "What's wrong?" Because apparently I had this look on my face of terror. That's what I felt. And I said, "Something is wrong. I don't know what it is, but something is wrong, and you have to tell me what's wrong." And so he said, "Well, I've been looking at pornography. I'm addicted to it." And so I was so mad. I said, "Get out of my house. Like, I can't see you. I can't look at you. Just get out." He came back the next day, again, tail between his legs. "So now you know it's never going to happen again. I'm so sorry. I'll do whatever it takes to fix it." And so I said, "You go to the bishop. You do this, you do this. You better fix this." So he went to the bishop, and he went to the church's addiction recovery program a couple of times. And both of us kind of went like, "Okay, phew, like, we're fixed. Like, we don't ever have to worry about that again. Let's not tell anyone about this. Let's pretend this never happened and get back to life." That's all I wanted, was just to get back to life. Because I was busy creating like this really pretty life. I had the dog and the cat, and now I had these cute babies, and we had a nice home, and pornography and this does not fit into my life. And my friends, like, if they knew this, they're not going to want to go on double dates with us. They're not going to want our kids to play with their kids, so nobody can know.
But she only knows about the pornography. It's all she knows about, and I'm not about to tell her about anything else. I wish I could, but I can't. So I tell her, and I decide to go to some addiction recovery meetings. I meet with the bishop. He's very kind, and he tells me about these meetings, and I put on this face of fixing it. Because pornography is an insatiable disease. It wasn't just acting out all the time. It leads to other things. My life had become so out of control that it just wasn't pornography anymore. It led to going to strip clubs, utilizing escort services, going to massage parlors, places I never thought I'd be, even getting robbed by somebody that was in the prostitution industry. You know, it was just, it become dangerous to a part where I had to be a point scared for my life, that I was going to come home to my family.
All night I was up, and finally I thought, okay, I'm going to write him a letter and just let him know I know and let him think about it, because every time I've talked to him, it hasn't worked. So I wrote him this email, and Luke's kept it to this day so he could tell you what the email said. But the email basically said, I know you're into pornography again. I can handle anything, but I can't handle the lies. I can't handle the lies. And I was about to finish it, and then I had this strong impression to ask him if he had ever cheated on me, if he had ever been with a prostitute, which are weird things to ask because I had no real reason to ask that. But it came out, and I sent the letter, and it was probably like, I waited to send it until he left for work because I wanted him not anywhere around. I didn't want him to come try to convince me of anything. And so I sent the letter, and about an hour later, he calls me up, and he said, hey, I just got your letter. He said, do you want me to come home and talk to you, or do you want to talk over the phone? And I said, I don't know, you tell me. And he said, I'm on my way home. And he works 40 minutes away. So for him to like leave work after he had just gotten there and come home, my heart sank, and I knew in that moment that my life was never going to be the same. I had no idea what he was going to come home and tell me. But like in that moment, it was like time just stopped. So I just waited. And I waited for about 45 minutes. And he came home, and I was sitting on my bed. And I was very pregnant, so I'm sitting there, and I'm kind of just had my arms wrapped around my belly. And he said, what do you want to know? Everything, like, just start talking. And so I just sat there and listened, where he proceeded to tell me that he had cheated on me our entire marriage from the very beginning, and that he had always done the pornography. And at first, he told me that there had been 4 women. And it was some coworkers, it was people I knew, it was some people I didn't know. And I remember just feeling this insane sense of calm. Like it was almost like an out-of-body experience. I asked him questions, I listened, I was taking in all of this information until I got to this point that I said, okay, I think I need you to leave now. Thank you for sharing this. I just need you to leave. And so he left, and he got in his car, and I was upstairs on the second story floor, and I could hear the engine start, so I went to the window, and I watched his car drive down the street. And then I stood in the window for a little bit longer until he was totally gone, and then I went in my closet. And you know, like you see in the movies where somebody just like falls apart and cries with this like groaning sound that's like not even like natural. I remember like going in my closet and just literally dropping to the floor and crying out, and like in a way that didn't even seem like me. But I remember feeling like somebody had taken a hammer and like just shattered like my insides. And as I lay on the floor, just thinking like, this is not real. This is not my life. Like, he was the Elders Quorum president. He had just been released from the Young Men's president. We had this beautiful family, and in a second, everything that I knew, everyone that I trusted, like Luke was my anchor. Luke was like my staple in my life. Whenever he wasn't at work, we were spending every minute together. And my best friend, my partner, my lover, my everything just ripped me apart. And that was the beginning of a really ugly road. I went to bed that night And I woke up at the morning, and it was like 5:30 in the morning, and he was standing over my bed. And he's like, "Are you okay? Do you want to talk? I'm right here for you." And he was so trying to be right there and trying to fix it. And I was in so much pain, and all he was pain. Him being near me was painful. And so at first I'm like, you just got to go for a few days. You just have to leave. And then after a few days, it's got to be like 6 months. And then I had a blessing, and in the blessing, it specifically said, if Luke stays home and has the comforts of his home, he'll never get better. And that was like, it couldn't have been more clear to me that God was saying, he's got to go. He's got to go, and he has to figure this out for himself. And so I told Luke, I said, you got to find an apartment. And in a year, we can even talk about if I want to be married to you. But for now, I want no contact. The only time we ever talk would be if there's something that's for the kids. From this point forward, we are going to act like we're divorced. Let's set up a plan. You can take the kids on one weekend. I'll take the kids on the other weekend. You just got to go find a place. And so he did. He went and he found somewhere to live. And we started living separate lives. And what was really, really difficult is I'm pregnant, right? And so 2 weeks, everything happened so fast. He told me everything that happened. A week later, he was already excommunicated, and normally those don't happen that quick. So he confesses, he's excommunicated, and a week after that, I have a baby. And I take that baby home to an empty house. And the thing that was so infuriating is Luke's phone was ringing off the hook. Everybody wanted to go rescue the sinner. They wanted to go just let him know he's not alone and, don't give up and all of these noble, kind things. He needed that because he thought no one would love him. But nobody knew what to do with me because my pain was so raw and so ugly and so heavy that nobody knew what to do with me. Like even my bishop, sweet, kind man, but he just said, I don't know what to do with you. I didn't know what to do with me. And I think this combination of everything got me for the first time in my life to get to a place to go like, this is bigger than me. Because up until then, I thought that I can control it and handle it and get everything like perfectly aligned. But for the first time in my life, I literally just put my hands up and said, okay, God, whatever you tell me to do at this point, because I am in so much pain, will do anything. I just had to get to this point of complete surrender. That was the only way that I could start to move forward.
I just got done sharing with my kids that their dad was going to be leaving the house. They're devastated. My wife's sobbing, and I leave. And now, as I'm getting in my car, not knowing where I'm going, basically homeless, I'm recognizing, and everything is hitting me. It was, is this even possible? Can this even actually be fixed? I got a chance to sit with what I've actually done for the first time ever, and I am alone. I am alone, and I'm nowhere to go. So the only person I can rely on is God at this point. I start negotiating hotel rates with people because we can't even afford to pay for afford to pay for two types of housing. And I get into this place, this hotel room, and I have my clothes, and I lay them down on the hotel bed, and I get down on my knees, and I start to pray. And I fall over on the floor, and then I just start begging with God again, and I say, God, I don't know how this is going to be fixed. So later, I make it to the mirror, okay? Because I go, remember something my dad said, and he said, you got to find out who you are. And I go and I stand up and I go to the bathroom mirror and I look in the mirror and I look right at myself. And I never looked at myself in the mirror, never looked right in my eyes because I didn't want to look at the guy that I knew who was actually in there. And I go and I looked at myself. I said over and over again, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And that was literally a heartfelt plea to who am I? Can I do this? And that was that start of the journey of figuring out who I am and what that was going to look like for me. I had a bishop that helped me work through the process, a stake president, and they encouraged me to now go to group where I had been before, but now I went with a different intent. So now when I went for my first church-led 12-step meeting, I went with a different purpose. I went to a pornography-only specific meeting. And I went there, and different than judging the guys, I was like, guys, help. Like, here I am. This is what I've done. Tell me. And you got all these guys, you know what they do? As soon as I tell them what's going on, they're like, I got you. I'm with you. This is what's similar about us. And I'm like, this is not the same meeting that I went to before. But the difference was I wanted to tackle it, right? I was not changed. I was not healed, but I was ready to actually do something about it. My bishop, who was fantastic, led me to a therapist. And this therapist specialized in sexual addiction. Okay? And he started to be the water and the air that I needed to drink and breathe. Not him, but the information that he had. So he knew how to specialize in sexual addiction. So he told me right away, he said, Luke, I'm not concerned about the pornography and the masturbation and other sexual misbehavior. I said, you're crazy, because that's why we're here. Because if I'm not looking at porn, my wife, we're good. We're living in the same building, right? And we're not right now. And he goes, I'm not concerned about the masturbation pornography. I'm concerned why you're using it. Because right now, you're mismanaging your emotions. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it was this process of me meeting with him twice a week to start off with, to understand why I had dug a hole that was so deep. It's because I couldn't handle what was going on in my life. So after that, going to a therapist, he said, you need group in your life. Love the church's meeting, still a 12-step meeting. It helped me find really good friends that I was able to attach to and give me support when I needed it. But there was a piece that was missing, that it didn't feel completely sustainable, okay? So my wife, later on, she had told me about a group that she was going to, because I saw her recognizing that my actions had broke her so severely that she didn't even know what to do. She was in emotional turmoil. So she joined a group called Worth. And this group was for women that had been betrayed by their husbands through pornography use. And I was at the point, she could have told me to do anything, and I would have done it. She didn't tell me to do it like she did in the past. She said, hey, this is what's going on. So I joined Men in Moroni, was this group, and it was for men. And I remember the first time I ever went to this meeting, and I was like, these guys were so real. I remember right in the middle of the first meeting, one guy, who I could tell he cared about this other guy, called him out. He said, I haven't seen you in a while. Are you fighting on your own? Are you trying to do this on your own? It's not okay. And I'm like, whoa, you're calling each other out. And I can see it's not from a place of you being mad. It's because of a place of caring. And I remember this intense and vigor to fight for each other and care about each other and to speak the truth to each other. And this group there was accountability there. There was calling it what it is. There was weekly meetings, and I would go all the time. And I would spend a lot of time doing group work with my therapist, and work with other men that had been through this. So those three parts were a process that became my recovery.
One of the hardest things in the journey when it comes to our marriage, so after each of us had done enough healing and we had to start working on the marriage, it was really difficult for us to come together and for Luke to be able to hold my pain and for me to stop looking at him to fix it. So I don't know if this makes sense, but ultimately, Luke broke me. It was him who broke me, and I wanted him to pay for it, and I wanted him to fix it. And it took me a really long time to get to the place that I could finally understand that no matter how good he did and how much he held my pain and how he was everything I wanted him to be, he couldn't fix me. He couldn't fix it. He was incapable of fixing it. And it was me finally being able to release that and give it to God. So it's such this hard thing to understand of he has a responsibility to hold my pain. He has a responsibility to do that, but to let go of him trying to fix it and to give that to the Savior.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
And my part of that is understanding that I broke her, but I can't make it better. But I can definitely make it worse by not getting healing myself. We're two people on a journey that have to, in a very painful way, watch the other person healed, and there's nothing we can do to heal that other person.
Yeah, almost like we're both in hospital beds
Yep.
next to each other, getting different surgeries, getting different work done. And we can hold each other's hand, but we each had to go through
Our own journey.
the healing process.
Yep. It's fun. It's interesting. It's fast paced.
It's a partnership. We're no longer each doing it on our own. We're connected with each other beyond, I don't know, beyond what?
We don't need each other to survive, but we're also enjoying the journey together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's having emotional connection. I think that's what it boils down to.
Yep. Emotional connection.
Luke is my best friend. He started as my best friend. We lost our way for a while, but he's my best friend. There's no one else in this world at the end of a day that I want to talk to, that I want to be with, that I want to share. There's no one else I want to share life with.
Well, it's funny because I want to go back to where Alana's tenacious. Yeah. Tenacious is in when she is knocked down to her knees, that's where she stays long enough to get back up.
Yeah, I think of our family as whole. So before, like, there's this massive hole or void in our family, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't recognize it. But now that it's been so interesting because as Luke has healed and I have healed, naturally, like, our entire family has healed, and even our kids, like, are using these same skills in their lives.
And we watch them use them all the time in the way that they tackle things at school, or the way they interact with their friends. Those skills that we gained as a part of this journey.
I'd like to think that we're a family that's a shame-free family. It's a shame-free environment. It's a place where they're safe to be themselves.
Yeah, to be themselves.
They're safe to make mistakes. They're safe to learn and grow, and everyone in our home, we try to be authentic. That's the home that we've created because of recovery. To a couple who's going through this, I would say the journey is going to be long and hard and ugly. But if you are willing to put in the work, which means going outside of your house, yourself, means humbling yourself, it means willing to just get in there and work your butt off. If you can do that, then you have the potential of a marriage being raised from the dead. That's what I literally think is our marriage was dead and over. And it was only through a lot of hard work and through the grace of God that we're here today.